There was a time when you got back from EB Games, you'd open up the brand new game case of, let's say, Super Smash Bros. Melee, put the disc into your console, and begin to play. Burnout Revenge, Halo 2, and Wii Sports. We can't forget portability either. Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland, Mario Kart DS, and Spider-Man 3. The list goes on and on. But the one thing that stays consistent is you got the game and you could just play immediately. Also, it was a finished product with few bugs to count. Then everything changed when the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 launched. I remember when I got my PlayStation 3, I was so excited to play Sleeping Dogs, Uncharted, the Batman Arkham series, the Naruto Storm series, Infamous, Assassin's Creed. There was a lot of games I was looking forward to. I was ready. But as my game collection continued to grow, my room and cabinet space continued to shrink. I remember looking down at the 20 plus PS2 games that happened to be next to me in a shoebox, thinking, do I have space for all this again? For the PS3? That's just PlayStation. Not mentioning GameCube and the Nintendo Wii that I had. Do I want to carry all this around? To my friends' houses? Back when we used to do that. That was the moment a thought crept into my head. Well, the games I play the most are open world games. Why not buy those digitally on the PS3? For replayability and to save space. I mean, here was this brand new online store with almost near access to hundreds of titles. This was a game changer. I remember loading up demos, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and eventually Grand Theft Auto 5 was on my console digitally. Just always there. A few years later, I'd have the PS4, sadly at the cost of the PS3 and all the physical games I had with it. Guys, make sure to hold on to your old consoles. Game preservation ain't really a thing. I walked out of a store that sells games that will remain nameless with my PS4, a copy of Assassin's Creed Unity and Minecraft. But eventually, I'd start branching out beyond just open world games digitally. There was still the occasional game bought physically, but things were different now. Most games required to be downloaded, installed, and eventually they would be patched at launch or a few days later because of needed fixes or literal game content missing from the base game. And of course, we were starting to get always online games. The PS5 launch was huge for me. It was the first time I would get a console on day one, but it was also the first time I would buy no physical games with my brand new console. In fact, 3 years would pass until I bought my first physical game. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back to Spider-Man 3. This was actually on the PSP, but I didn't own this game nor the console. This was something I saw while just outside, and it blew my mind. You see, at this point in time, the idea of essentially a normal console level game, open world at that, on a portable console was impossible to my kid brain. But yet, here it was, in the palm of some random kid's hands, being played in real time. This moment has never left me. I firmly believe today, if not for smartphones, the Switch would be way more dominant than it already is. Because we can play Fortnite and Call of Duty Mobile, the market is more split, versus way back when all you had was Nintendo and Sony portable machines. Of course, all of these just insert and play. But let's continue my thought. Rewinding back to the fall of 2016, the Nintendo Switch is revealed, and it looks very promising. It's showing off Skyrim, running on the device while on a plane of all things, and at that moment, I remembered PSP Spider-Man, and I thought to myself, is this it? Is this the console that can always do it? But I was concerned about the size of the buttons and analog sticks. And then the following year in school, on lunch break, I saw it, out in the wild. The Switch in someone's hands. They even allowed me to play it, and I was impressed. However, I wasn't with the buttons and battery life. But the idea of this console, the idea of playing any type of game wherever you go was special. Dare I say hopeful. Now let's go back to after I got my PS5. Let's go back to the time where it had become a staple to buy every game digitally, even if they didn't always work. It's the beginning of 2021. Most games coming out were remasters or remakes or hey, we finally fixed this game years later, with not a whole lot of new to play. The only physical game I had on me at this time was Kingdom Hearts 3, and that was a conversation for another day. My mind began to wander back to the Nintendo Switch, back to this idea. By this time, a new refresh of the console had been out that promised better battery life, so I thought maybe at some point I'll try it out. Nearing the end of January, I found myself more than ready. While strolling around an Amazon store, that feels weird to say out of my mouth, I see it just sitting there, and I realize I could just walk out of here with this thing. A totally different experience than what I had with my PS5. With that, I simply added to cart, bought, and shipping weeks later at my door. But with my Switch, I left the store with it in my hands, and I will never forget that feeling. Granted, I was years late to the Switch party, so it was relatively easy to get one. With this console, just about all first-party games are on the cartridge. I inserted my copy of Breath of the Wild, and it just popped up, ready to go. And then I was just in Hyrule, just like I was all those years ago as a kid. Of course, it wasn't perfect. Many physical third-party games wouldn't fully fit on the cartridge and would require a download, but I was still happy. I would still end up buying digital games, but now I had more choice. Then you have my PS5 experience. Insert the disc, copy files over to console, update, then play. While being tied to the TV, of course. But my Switch, the fact that I could take this experience with me essentially anywhere was crazy. Today I'm saddened to say my Switch doesn't get much love. I've officially put it down. The overall size of the device and buttons would prove too small for my hands, causing me discomfort and hand cramps. Also, the game performance of the console left me to desire more. Not 4K in my hands more, just consistency while docked or portable. The type of consistency that we used to have on PS2 and GameCube, where games played smooth and aesthetically looked great. Yes, the Switch 2 is now out in the wild, but with most companies opting for game key cards and the potential standard of $80 games, it just wasn't all that appealing to me. I now happily focus my Steam Deck and PC. Yes, that means the physical aspect is gone, but I do occasionally pick up some physical games for my PS5 when I can. Getting Marvel Spider-Man 2 physically and sharing that moment with my friend was a very special day. It sucks not having physical copies of my PC games, but with the amount of time and years put into this hobby, I'm satisfied. Although I'm required to download my games, the Steam Deck not only comfortably fits my hands, but it still hits that idea for me that Nintendo brought. The idea of playing any type of game wherever you go. But this time giving me more choice than ever before, making the experience special. Dare I say, hopeful.